Hey everybody, welcome back, and I have got a little bit of good news. Well, it's good news to me. I don't know if anybody else will care, but broke 100 subscribers. Actually, we hit 100 subscribers on my video channel. People who have subscribed to the Grognards Corner. Again, I just think this is the greatest thing in the world. And I've said this before. When I started this, I had no idea where it was going to go. I was going to consider myself lucky to get, maybe 10 or 15 subscribers. So 100 subscribers is just absolutely phenomenal, especially the lack of exposure that I have out there. As I've said before, I don't frequent the really big major gaming boards, Consim World, Board Game Geek, what have you. I've said it before, thank you to everybody out there who subscribed to the channel. I deeply appreciate it. And hopefully we can just keep going up from here. Hopefully my air conditioning unit in the background is not going to be too loud to be too much of a distraction. I'm trying to do this early in the morning before the heat of the day really kicks in and I really need my AC. Although, I live in Seattle. It's, we consider 80 to be really hot around here, so oh well. Anyways, so I've been looking over and thinking and reading through and figuring out what I wanted to do, and one of the first things that I was considering doing was with the Soviets was taking a bunch of the recon planes. Now, not that they've got that many. I think they've got 3 recon flights, and I wanted to mine parts of the Aegean Sea around Lemnos, which is what the NATO U.S. forces have got to get to. I was thinking of mining a whole bunch of the sea zones, make it a little bit tougher to get in there, but then, yeah, like I said, I realized the Soviets only have 3 squadrons of reconnaissance. It takes 1 reconnaissance to drop 1 mine in a hex. So I was originally thinking that, maybe here, here, and here, but that would take, 3 separate flights, basically over 3 days, and by then, the scenario will almost be over. So I was thinking, well, maybe I should go ahead and pop one here, but come to find out, I was going over the errata, can't lay mines in the Aegean Sea Zone in Greek island hexes. It's like, all right, well, that cuts that idea out. Well, maybe right here and here, because, I don't think the U.S. are going to burn the time to go around Crete. So, I don't know. Like I said, the Soviets only have 3 flights of reconnaissance, and you can only lay 1 mine a day, and I really need that reconnaissance to spot the enemy units, so I think it was a good idea, bigger scenario, more recon. Maybe I would have done that, but the more I'm thinking about it, I'm probably going to avoid throwing the mines down. Maybe later in the game if I have some extra reconnaissance floating around, which I probably won't. They'll probably get blown out of the sky. So, anyways, let's go ahead and start the game. So we're just gonna run through the sequence of play, and the sequence of play, really isn't that bad. It's 1 sheet, 1 page, and pretty much also includes all the advanced the game segments as well, which we're not going to be worrying about. But I just did want to go over this a little bit just to give everybody an idea. Okay, strategic cycle, AM game turns only. We are starting off on turn 1 of 10, so it is an AM turn that we're starting off. Political events phase, advanced game we're going to skip. Random events phase, advanced game we're going to skip. Reinforcements phase, advanced game we're going to skip. Strategic air phase, okay, allocation segment. Now, like I said in the last video, normally both sides allocate their strategic air at the same time, secretly, and then reveal. As a solitaire player, it's a little tough to do that, so we're just going to use a kind of a modified. I'm going to roll a dice for initiative and then allocate back and forth. Is it the best way of doing it? No, but to be honest, it's the most amiable and fair way that I can think of coming with something. So Initiative is, well, it's not really fair to call it initiative, but it is initiative dice roll. You just roll one dice. On an even, the U.S. get it. On an odd, the Soviets get it. So it's even, the U.S. get it. So, technically when you win initiative, you have the advantage, but yeah, I'm not going to get into break the mechanics of normal rolling for initiative like it is in the rest of the game. You roll initiative, yeah, that's you go first. So I rolled initiative, I'm going to have to go first. So what we're going to do first with our strategic allocation is I would love to be able to throw the interceptors and the attack aircraft on the Nimitz into the Central Med. Unfortunately, their movement doesn't allow them to get that far. However, I do have this F-16 squadron in Sigonella that is able to make the Med. It has the movement for that. So we are going to go to the Central Med zone, as we have our little chart down here. We're going to throw them on intercept. Place them on the intercept zone. And then flip back to the Soviets. Now, the Soviets are going to want to do a little bit of... Do they want to do some recon? Well, there's that sub there. You know what? They do not want to tangle with the U.S. forces yet. We are going to take the Yak Squadron that is on the Minsk, and we are going to put them on combat air patrol. And I made sure to pull out a bunch of combat air patrol markers first. And the Minsk is Task Force 8, so they're going to have cap over Task Force 8 with the Yaks. Okay, the U.S. I think the U.S. is going to take this P3 squadron that's in Sardinia, and we're going to put them into the Tyrrhenian Sea on recon so they can try to spot that Soviet submarine there. Then you know what? We're going to take this Tupolev, recon Tupolev, out of Benghazi. And we want to avoid those F-16, so we're going to throw these guys into the Eastern Med on reconnaissance so they can try to spot that sub there. The U.S. is going to take got another P3 squadron. Actually got two more P3 squadrons. Okay, we're going to take this P3 squadron out of Sigonella, and we're going to throw them into the Central Med on reconnaissance. Soviets definitely want to spot these frigates. So let's go ahead and take a Tupolev recon, stick that in the Aegean Sea Zone for reconnaissance. Back to the U.S. Let's go ahead and take this P3, throw them into the Central Med. Actually, we've already got one P3 squadron there. Tyrian. Yeah, let's go throw the other one into the Central Med as well, so he can do some reconnaissance there. Soviets have got another Tupolev recon bomber wing, although I don't know if you can really call them bombers if they're recon. Out of the Crimean. We don't want to go into the Central Med because we know there's interceptors there. We got Eastern Med, we got the Aegean Sea Zone. You know what? Let's go ahead and put these guys on tactical coordination in the Eastern Med. That'll help any attacks that happen there. For the U.S., we're going to be throwing Actually, I think that's going to be it for the Soviets. The Soviets, all they've got left are bomber squadrons. The T-16s out of Sevastopol. I do not want to be using those as recon. I want to use them as attack. So the Soviets are done with their strategic air allotment. So the U.S. are going to take the 4 fighter squadrons on the Nimitz, and we're going to take the advanced early warning, and we're going to throw them on combat air patrol. Let's see. Combat air patrol right there. Cap on the Nimitz. Yeah, and then we're going to keep the electronic warfare, the A6s attack, and the S3 anti-submarine warfare on the Nimitz for strikes during the turn. And basically, let's go ahead and take the camera off its stand. And that's basically what the strategic air looks like at the end of the strategic air segment. Now, at this point, we would be checking to see if there were any multiple squadrons that were on interceptors that were in the same sea zone, but there's not. We made sure of that, so there's no interceptor segment, there's no bounce segment. So basically, for the most part, the strategic segment is almost over. The interception, then bounce, then the mine segment. Okay, now we have the detection segment. And that's where we get to place our detection markers. Now, right off the bat from the get-go, nobody is detected and nobody's in range to be detected. You have to be at least 1 or 2 hexes away from somebody to be detected. So at this point, it just comes down to reconnaissance. So we look at our reconnaissance that we've got on our strategic air chart, and we've got the U.S. has got 1 in the Tyrian Sea zone. So we go ahead and now a reconnaissance unit can spot 2 surface hexes or 1 submarine. There's only 1 submarine, so we'll go ahead and detect them. The U.S. has, in the Central Med, 2 reconnaissance units that weren't spotted. So they're going to get to lay 2 markers down, and since both of them, since the only thing in the Central Med other than the battle group out of Libya are the submarines, so we're going to go ahead and lay them down on those 2 submarines. Let's see, the Soviets in the Aegean Sea Zone have a reconnaissance unit. So in the Aegean Sea Zone, they technically, since they're going after surface units, could place 2, but there's only 1 hex worth. So both those frigates are spotted. And finally, we have a reconnaissance unit in the Eastern Med, which will allow the Soviets to spot that submarine. All right, that's the detection phase. Then you step into the initiative phase. And again, roll a d6. Whoever rolls or even goes to U.S., odd goes to the Soviets. Oops. That's good enough. 4. So U.S. gets it, so we need to decide what our first action or what we're going to activate first. Air, surface, or sub. You know what? I think we're going to go with surface units first. We need to get these frigates as far away from the Soviets as possible and try to do something before they get blowed up. So, and since we know that the submarine is there, we're going to go ahead and take our surface units. We'll start by activating these guys. Oop. Drop the counter on the floor. Never a good thing. I've got a movement of 3. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and places them right next to the submarine. And like I said, you do all your surface forces. So then we have the Nimitz task group. And you have to move at the slowest speed of the ship in the task force, and all the ships have a movement of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 in their movement there. And we have this destroyer up here with a movement of 3. 1, 2, 3. They're going to try to... you know what? They're actually going to try to hook up the Jersey. So 1, 2, 3. And then Task Force 1, the Cartagena. Their movement overall is going to be a 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now what I should have done, and what I could have done, or yeah, technically what I should have done was, as soon as these guys moved, they did their attack. I wanted to get the other surface units moved first, so let's go ahead and do the attack here. These guys are going to be using anti-submarine warfare. You're kidding me. Let me make sure I got that right, because they're saying those things do not have any ASW, which I find very hard to believe for a Perry-class frigate, because Perry-class frigates were designed... Oh, that's the gunnery value. I was looking at the wrong number. They do have ASW. Okay, they've actually got an ASW of 10. Wow. And, alright, so let's go over ASW real quick. Something I need to recall. I can't remember if there's a defensive role for ASW. Let's take a look at that real quick. Yeah, no defensive roles for ASW. Okay. Initiating force is an active submarine, surface submarine or air unit, or a stack of air or surface units, which it is. Target of the attack is a Texas submarine. Attacking submarine or surface units must be in the hex that is adjacent to the target submarine. Attacking air unit must be in the same hex as an attacking air unit. Okay. A unit performing ASW combat can only attack one hex. Given submarine can only be attacked by ASW combat during an active segment in which the enemy surface units are activated. Alrighty. Select up to 5 surface units, 4 air or 1 sub, then determine the combined ASW. And then I basically just decide how I want to break up my ASW. If there's more than 1 sub in the space, there's only 1 sub in the space, so 10 points are going to be going on to the Soviet submarine. Let's see, which one is that? The Ibris. Of course, I'm pronouncing that wrong, I know. So we got 10 attack value. We take a look at our combat chart. I'm going to be rolling on the 9 to 14 column under the attack. There are no modifiers since there is no defensive roll. I don't have anybody on tech coordination. No, if I had someone on tactical coordination, that'd give me a +1 to the dice roll. So it's just going to be a straight up dice roll. So we're looking at a 5. That's actually pretty good. So looking on the 9 to 14 column at a 5, we did 4 points of damage. And the Soviet submarine, as we can see, has 6 defense. We can see that right there. So that's more than half, so she is damaged. Like that. So U.S. frigates managed to get some Mark 48s popped into the area, do a little damage to the Soviet submarine. Well, that's good. So, okay, that's basically all the U.S. Now it switches, or U.S. surface. Now it switches over to the Soviets. The Soviets can decide air, surface, or sub. You know what? Let's go sub. So, go ahead and start with these 2 that are up in the Western Med. Now, one of the subs is detected, and one of them's not, and we have no idea what where any of those ships are. I mean, we know where they are, but we can't attack them because they're not detected. So honestly, they're going to pull a retrograde maneuver. This has got a movement of 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think this sub, a movement of 7, not bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's going to kind of give me some coverage if the task force comes through there. We like that. I could pop off SSNs. Only one of them has it, and one of them does have a range of 6, but it's only 9 values, and they already know I'm dead. They already know I'm there. So that actually may not be a bad idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could hit the nah, there's just going to be way too much defensive fire. Yeah. So, okay, we're going to hold our SSNs in reserve. This submarine, even though it's detected, it's going to 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to move up here. Yeah, they don't have any SSNs, but they do have torpedoes, so they're going to move there, and they are going to fire torpedoes at the U.S. frigates. So they've got a torpedo value of 18. And I think we're going to want to put 9 into each ship. All right, now there is a defensive role for this, and this is based on the anti-submarine warfare value. Let's just check to make sure what the defensive role on this is. For torpedoes. Okay. Defending player selects up to 5 units in the target hex and adds together their ASW. And that's just the straight up dice roll. Okay, no modifiers, nothing else like that. So the ASW value of both of these ships together is a 10. Should have remembered that from the ASW attack on the Soviet sub. So we have to figure out what the defense value is first. So again, we're going to be looking on the 9 to 14 column. It is a 4 on defense. So the modifier is going to be a 4. So the attacker is going to have -4 on his dice roll. The Soviet sub has 18 attack factors. So we're going to be looking at the 15 to 20 column. And is going to be a -4 on the dice roll. It's a 4, which brings it down to a 0 on the attack. Or actually, no, I said 9 on each. Okay, so looking on the 9 to 14 column, first dice roll is 0. Is a 1. So the attack factor is the damage value is a 1. We'll just go from top to bottom. And his defense value is a 2. So the Stark, which has defense value of 2, damage is 1, which is half. She's actually flipped over to her damage side. And then the Thatch, which has a defense value of 2 as well. We roll for the attack on her. She rolled a 5, -4, which is a 1. On the 9 to 14 column is a 2, which is equal to the Thatch's defense value, which will damage her. I think that just damages. I can't remember it being equal to. You have to be equal to or greater than. Equal to or greater than. All right, so she's sunk. So, Soviet sub pops off a spread of torpedoes, damages the Stark, and the Thatch takes the brunt of it and ends up sinking. Like I said, those frigates are not going to last very long. All right, the other submarines we've got, well, we'll go ahead and take this damaged Soviet submarine, and they're going to go ahead and attack. They've got a torpedo value of 11. So they're going to go ahead and fire off torpedoes. Again, we've got to figure out what the defense value is. Unfortunately, she's only 1 ship now, and she's wounded, so her defense value is a 2 for the ASW. Rolling on the 2 column, we get a 4, and it's a modifier of -1. The wounded Soviet submarine has 11 torpedo factors, so we're going to be rolling on the 9 to 14 column at a -1. 4 -1 is a 3, which is going to be 3 points, which is more than her defense value. So the wounded Soviet submarine finishes off the Stark. Like I said, they weren't going to last real long. But it gave the Soviets something to shoot at, and I know both of those submarines are there now. Other submarines. Let's see, we've got this one over here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to attack her. We're going to attack the Baltimore. I'm just going to go through. Defensive value of 9 is a 4, which is a defense of -4. Soviet submarine has 18 attack factors. All of them are going into her, so it's on the 15 to 20 column at a -4. 3, which will be 1, 2, 3, and -1, which is, what's her attack value again? 18. So it's going to be a 15 to 20 column. Does 1. Her defense is a 7. Doesn't even come close to damaging her. But now, since she moved in and fired torpedoes, and I didn't know she was there before, I know she's there now. And the last submarine is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and she's going to attack as well. She's got, that's an older, it's got to be an Oscar. 12 torpedo factors. ASW is 9, so roll defense. And video cut out at me on the 30-minute mark. I have no idea why this camera likes to cut out at the 30-minute mark, but it does. Basically, the second Soviet submarine came in, fired, didn't really do anything. Flicks back to the U.S. The U.S. are going to activate their submarines. And so the Baltimore is going to go ahead and fire, and she's got 22 torpedoes. She's going to go after the older, slower submarine. She's got a defense of 4. Defense of 4. And rolled a 2, which is a modifier of 2. And 22 column. -2, 4 minus 2 is 2 on the 22 column. Lots of 2s is 3 damage. Her defensive is 6, which is half. So that's going to damage her. So she gets flipped. Something I should have also mentioned before is whenever you inactivate a unit, you can fire, move, fire, sometimes fire twice. So she actually attacked. But she doesn't really want to stay there. So she's going to move. So she's going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Get her out of there. Now the other submarine I've got is the Drum. She's going to move up. She's going to try to finish off that wounded Soviet submarine. Oh, and of course, now my little battery light is flashing. So we'll get out this turn and take yet another break. All right, so she's got 22 attack factors versus defensive 3. Defensive 3, rolled a 6, is a -4. Wow. So 22 attack factor -4. We rolled a 4 -4 is 0 on the 22 column is 2 damage. She's got a defensive 6. So nothing. But that now lets the Soviets know the Drum is there. What other submarines do I have? I got the one over here out of Rota, Spain. So she's just gonna move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we got this submarine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that is going to be it for the second activation of the subs. I'm going to go ahead and break again and recharge the battery. We'll be back to finish off this turn. Alright, here we are back. Got the battery charged up a little bit. Going to try to burn through the rest of the turn. We're in activation 2 on the Soviet side. They've already done their submarines. They haven't done air or surface yet. I think they're going to go ahead and do a surface this time. And really, they've only got 3 surface groups. The Osa Patrol boat's up here. And just because, we're just going to go ahead and Shift them in a little bit screen. Off Lamnos. And then there are 2 surface action groups. Let's go with Task Force 6 first off. Movement of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Task Force 8, which is the Minsk battle group. Should they try to go after that submarine? They've got some ASW. They can go after that sub. And they don't really want to try to mess with the Nimitz yet. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. Put them right there to get into position to go after the Soviet or the US sub. Alright, so that's the end of Activation 2. And let's go ahead and into Activation 3, roll initiative. I think I forgot to do this on Impulse 2. 3, Soviets get it. Well, they've only got one thing left, and that's their aircraft. Really, the only aircraft that they don't have anything that is committed to strategic is all those lovely Tupolev bombers up in Sevastopol. Problem is, they don't know where either the Nimitz or the Jersey battle groups are. The frigates are dead, and they can't really go after submarines. I don't think they have it. Yeah, they don't have any ASW value. All right, so the Tupolevs are going to be sitting back, sitting pretty, and not doing anything. That leaves the U.S. with their aircraft, and the only uncommitted aircraft that they have are a couple squadrons on the Nimitz, and they could, well, they do have one ASW aircraft squadron, so let's go ahead and activate that. So we've got this S3 squadron. It's got an ASW value of 3 and a movement of 40. So let's go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to go after the wounded Soviet submarine. This is an ASW, so it pulls in its defense of 3. Rolled a 4 on the 3 column. Is a defense of 3, and it is an attack value of 3 at a -3. Is a 1 on the 3 column is a 1. And the Soviet submarine has a defense of 6, so doesn't do anything. And there was no way for the Soviets to intercept that, so that got through just fine. Now they also do have some A6s and EA6s, attack and electronic warfare craft, that could hit a surface target. But I don't know where either one of the Soviet task groups are at right now because I haven't identified them yet. So, since they don't have anything to do, that will put it to the end of the turn, or the end of the activation, which is the end of the turn. Let's go ahead and hit the chart. Cap landing phase, all cap comes down. And then terminal phase, which is night game turns only. Okay, well, let's see. All cap returns. So the cap returns to the Nimitz. And the cap off the Minsk, excuse me, returns to the Minsk. And we're done with turn 1. And that's basically the flow of how everything goes. I hope everybody enjoyed it so far. I'm pretty sure I got all the rules right. We're looking at some, we've seen some intense submarine warfare action going on. Both sides being a little bit hesitant about doing anything with to each other's battle groups. As we saw, they were more focused on identifying the submarine threats. Soviets are definitely in the lead. They managed to sink 2 frigates and only have 2 of their submarines damaged, maybe 3. 2 submarines damaged. So the Soviets have got the upper hand so far, and I will be back with turn 2 in the future. Questions, comments, complaints, concerns, criticisms in the comments section. I'll see everybody later.